I'm starting out with a smoothie that I managed to make today, which is really good. Very healthy start to the day. We've got Rich Dad Poor Dad still in Chinese, so we'll keep going with The Art of Thinking Clearly, which is an amazing book. Everybody that's been reading together with us, obviously getting a lot of fun and everything with that one. And where are we up to? We had coincidence yesterday, chapter 24. Did we? No, I think coincidence is the next chapter. We had the endowment effect yesterday, yes. So today we're up to chapter 24, the inevitability of unlikely events, coincidence. And I also wanted to quickly share, I put it in the promo for the reading, but this morning in an event that I am a part of, we were talking about compassion. And it's interesting how reading will actually increase your empathy and your compassion with others, which is really important, especially in times like these. So it's really great to get some reading done. So who's ready? Let's get into some reading this morning. So the inevitability of unlikely events, coincidence, chapter 24, at 7:15 p.m. on the 1st of March, 1950. The 15 members of the choir church in Beatrice, Nebraska were scheduled to meet for rehearsal. For various reasons, they were all running behind. The minister's family was delayed because his wife still had to iron their daughter's dress. One couple was held back when their car wouldn't start. The pianist wanted to be there 30 minutes early, but he fell into a deep sleep after dinner, and so on. At 7:25, the church exploded. The blast was heard all around the village. It blew out the walls and sent the roof crashing to the ground. Miraculously, nobody was killed. The fire chief traced the explosion back to a gas leak, even though members of the choir were convinced they had received a sign from God, hand of God, or coincidence. Very good question. Something last week made me think of my old school friend, Andy, whom I hadn't spoken to in a long time. Suddenly, the phone rang. I picked it up and lo and behold, it was Andy. I must be telepathic. I exclaimed excitedly, but was it telepathy or was it coincidence? On the 5th of October 1990, the San Francisco Examiner reported that Intel would take its rival AMD to court. Intel found out that the company was planning to launch a computer chip named AM386, a term which clearly referred to Intel's 386 chip. How Intel came upon the information is remarkable. By pure coincidence, both companies had hired somebody named Mike Webb. Both men were staying in the same hotel in California and checked out the same day. After they had left, the hotel accepted a package for Mike Webb at reception. It contained confidential documents about the AM386 chip, and the hotel mistakenly sent it to Mike Webb of Intel, who promptly forwarded the contents to the legal department. How likely are stories like that? So there's a couple of examples. First of all, the Swiss psychiatrist C.G. Jung saw in them the work of an unknown force, which he called synchronicity. But how should a rationally minded thinker approach these accounts? Preferably with a piece of paper and a pencil. Consider the first case, the explosion of the church. Draw 4 boxes to represent each of the potential events. The first possibility is what actually took place. Choir delayed and church exploded. But there are 3 other options. Choir delayed and church did not explode. Choir on time and church exploded. And choir on time and church did not explode. Estimate the frequencies of these events and write them in the corresponding box. Pay special attention to how often the last cases happen. Every day, millions of choirs gather for scheduled rehearsals and their churches don't blow up. Suddenly, the story has lost its unimaginable quality. For all these millions of churches, it would be improbable if something like that happened in Beatrice, Nebraska. At least if it didn't happen once in a century. So no, according to the book, no hand of God. And anyway, why would God want to blow a church to smithereens? What a ridiculous way to communicate with your worshippers. So this is an age-old question. It is very, very interesting. And if we look at the statistics, there are all sorts of different possibilities and probabilities that are going to happen. And so it's the better you understand statistics, the better it is going to be. And I don't know if I have the book here behind me or if it's in the other room. I think it's in the other room. There's a very good book that I think you might also be interested in. It's called innumeracy. And I think it's by somebody called Allen, Allen Paulos, Paulos. And it talks about how bad we are at mathematics and numbers and understanding how things work. So, for example, they did a calculation of the biblical flood. And if it were to rain for 40 days and 40 nights, in order to be able to cover the entire earth up to the height of Mount Everest, for example, to be able to cover all the mountains and all the geographical locations of Earth, for that amount of rain to fall in such a short period of time, it would take a rain at the force that would sink an aircraft carrier. So an ark wouldn't really stand much chance either. So the better you understand the statistics and the mathematics of how things work, it's going to be different on a case-by-case basis. But at the same time, there are also unexplained events that do happen. And there are things that we are only starting to understand now from thousands of years ago that are now starting to make sense because we understand the science behind it. And so there may be something that is going to also have a principle behind it based on what is happening in these cases. Let's continue though. Let's apply the same thinking to the phone call. Keep in mind the many occasions when Andy thinks of you but doesn't call, when you think of him and he doesn't call, when you don't think of him and he calls, when he doesn't think of you and you call. There's an almost infinite number of occasions when you don't think of him and he doesn't call. But since people spend about 90% of their time thinking about others, it's not unlikely that eventually two people will think of each other and one of them will pick up the phone. And it must be just Andy. If you have 100 other friends, the probability of this happening increases greatly. We tend to stumble when estimating probabilities, and this is the challenge. Very often, there's a very famous presentation by Bill Gates where he actually talks about how statistics are used to lie to you. And if you watch that video, it is fascinating to see the way in which statistics are used against us because we don't understand them well enough. So probably one of the best lessons from today is to go out and, if you hated probability when you were at high school, probably you would have learned about probability. Now that you're a little bit older and wiser and you're able to maybe process mathematics a little bit better, take some time to actually go through and learn a little bit about probability again. And you will start to see that you're able to maybe understand a little bit better. And the better you understand it, the more you'll be able to understand the world around you because you understand the probabilities of what is happening. So for example, when a doctor is going to tell you what your chance of survival is for a certain operation, very often the doctors are not very good at actually calculating those probabilities. They'll tell you two different things, and it's in the book. There's a great example where the doctor will say that you have a 99% chance of survival, but really it's not that high, or it's not going to be that exact number. They themselves are not very good at calculating these probabilities. We might have a look at that example tomorrow as a part of the reading. It would be really interesting. We tend to stumble when estimating probabilities. If somebody says never, I usually register this as a minuscule probability greater than 0, since never cannot be compensated by a negative probability. This is why we need to understand probability a little bit better. In sum, let's not get too excited. Improbable coincidences are precisely that, rare but very possible events. It's not surprising when they finally happen. What would be more surprising would be if they never came to be. So let me know, what do you think? Do you believe in coincidences? Do you believe that things are meant to be and that they happen for a reason? Or do you believe that everything is just random and every once in a while something that is totally random will happen and we will attribute coincidence to that? I'm going to actually leave you with something today, and I'm very curious to see what you think. Let's take Mount Fuji, which I think is about 15,000 feet or meters. I'm not sure. We need to double check. It's about 15. Let's say it's 15,000 meters or feet. Doesn't really matter. The question is, if there was a dump truck and it would drive up and it would get a scoop of earth and it would fill up completely every single second, how long would it take to be able to get rid of Mount Fuji completely and have it taken away by dump trucks? How long do you estimate that would take? Send me your answers. Let me know what you think. And in tomorrow's video, I'll tell you how long it actually takes. And we'll have a look at some other things, possibly from innumeracy, and how bad we really are at mathematics, and how we can use that to our advantage to understand the world a lot better. So that was today's chapter, which led to so much more because we're looking at probabilities and statistics and different things like this. So that's coincidence. Tomorrow we are on chapter 25, the calamity of conformity. And we're going to be talking about groupthink, which a lot of people out there are going to be definitely going to be confronted by. So this will be a really interesting chapter again. I am looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'm looking forward to reading this chapter. Have a really amazing day today, and I'll see you tomorrow. And have a look around you, have a think about Mount Fuji and about the probabilities of everything that's happening around you today. This is such a fun book to read. Hope you're enjoying it as much as I am, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, if you are looking for something exciting to do tonight, there is online cash flow, which is going to be amazing because it allows you to learn how to create wealth in your life. It's going to allow you to be able to simulate a real life scenario where you are paying real taxes, where you're investing in stocks, businesses, you're investing in real estate. You're going to be able to ask me questions. You're going to be able to see what you can achieve in a certain amount of time because it's time related, time based. So if you are interested, send me a message. And we are looking forward to seeing you at a cash flow at some point. I'll make sure that there is going to be a link so that you know where to find us. And it's going to be amazing if you join for that as well. Have a great day, everybody. And yes, remember to stay critical and invest like a game of chess, like I said in my social media yesterday. So,